Okay, so we're at week 5 and I've done my developing answers presentation again. This week I had, I'm just going to go over the 3 questions that I had. So the first one was, how can I teach for understanding rather than just teach so the children will learn? My second question was, how do I help children of many different learning abilities be able to learn the material I teach them? And my third question was, how can I help the environment in my home to be a place of learning and understanding? I'm not going to go over all of these questions in my presentation, just the one question that I choose, and I'm going to do the last question, and then I'll go through the other slides and just mention and kind of explain what's on the slides. So the first question was, how can I teach for understanding? And on this slide, what I've done is I have the teaching to teach column and the teaching for understanding. And I hope to add to these characteristics I put on here. But the teaching, I just put characteristics for teaching to teach as just what our calling would be on one side. And then the other column, what are characteristics of teaching for understanding? And so that's what I put there. If you want to look at those and read them, just go ahead and pause. The second question I had was, how do I teach children with many different learning abilities? So I've just put a couple pictures on here. The stairs represent taking things by small steps. The question mark is just for the asking questions like how, where, why, how's this strategy working? Where can we apply this strategy? Why is it helping you? Different things like that. And then also using pictures and diagrams when teaching. So that's just kind of a small explanation of what's on those slides. The question I do want to go over that I really liked was, how do I improve the environment in my home to make it more of a learning environment? And so I really liked, on the discussion post, one of the students in the class talked about different forms of play when they were learning in their home. She has children, and so I really like this because I'm expecting a child in July. And so learning these different ways of how I can help raise that child, my first child, in the home and teach them in the home really stuck out to me. And also, these things don't just apply necessarily in a home, but it can apply in a classroom as well, which I really like. So she talked about the different forms of play, and I've gone and researched more on these different forms of play and kind of learned more about what each of them entails. And I've put a picture here for each one of them, and I'm just going to go over what each one means. So the first form of play is physical. I guess I should also explain that you're teaching using play for kids. So it's really interactive to help them learn. This also works with kids in a classroom as it's interactive. It will help them learn better than if you just stand up there and lecture to them. We've all experienced that, and we know it isn't the most effective way. Sometimes it's just the way things have to be done, but it's not the most effective. So one of the forms of play is physical. So I have the picture of the 2 girls with a ball bouncing it back and forth. And I like this because there are many different things that we teach that we can involve play with. We can involve something physical. And something that I just thought of that comes to my mind is, I remember in different classes or in different activities that I participated in out of school, that sometimes there would be a ball, and if the ball was thrown to us, then it was our turn to talk and we got to share something. And so I like this because if you're talking about a certain subject in a classroom, you can have a little ball, obviously one that's just like a blow up ball, and you can pass it around to the different children so they can have their chance to answer a question or to ask you a question or to talk about something that's on the subject matter. So I really like that idea. It really will involve the kids because they have to be paying attention in order to get the ball. So the next one was discovery. And for this one, I put the little building blocks at the bottom. And this is a way for kids to discover different things. I've watched my 5-year-old little brother discover many things when he uses blocks, and he has that imagination, and he discovers how he can make bowling pins, or how he can make a big tower, or make a house, or different things like that. And so I really like the discovery aspect of playing with blocks or things like that that can help the child to learn on their own and discover different ways of how they can approach problems per se. Maybe they want to build a house and they don't have a piece that they need, so they have to come up with a different way and discover how else that house can be built. So I really like that, and that can apply for different things in the classroom as well. The next one is creative. So this is all about their imagination. So I put the painting palette there because children have an amazing imagination, and how they approach drawing or painting things is crazy to me. My little brother has unfortunately drawn on the walls in our house, but what he drew and how he explained it was really interesting, and how he knew all the different parts, and every part of his drawing had a purpose. So I love that art can do that for the children. They can draw a picture of something that you're learning about, and what they come up with is amazing. In fact, my little brother brings homework home from school, and they have to come up, he's just in kindergarten, so they're learning their letters, and if they're learning the letter L one week, they have to come up with something that starts with an L and draw a picture of it and color it. And I love that, because when you're teaching letters, that's an awesome way for the kids to learn. Oh, L, this also stands for Lego, or lettuce, or lamp, or light bulb. And so then they can draw those things and apply that. So I really like the creative aspect. Kids have a great imagination, so it works really well. The last form of play that I put on here was pretend. And we have all seen this. So I put the little pretend food on there because I remember as a little girl, I loved playing kitchen. I loved pretending to cook food and serving people and different things like that. So I loved this idea of pretend, and I think it works really effectively. I just want to share a little bit. I'm a primary teacher in my ward, and I just want to share what we did on Sunday for an activity that involved pretend playing. And what we did was we were talking about Nephi having to build a boat. And I had a box of Legos that I brought in, and I had each of the kids build a boat. They had a box of Legos, a bunch of different pieces, and they were to build a boat and use those Legos as materials to build their boat. And in order to do this, their boat needed to float and carry them across the sea. Obviously, it wasn't real. These kids aren't actually going to get on these Lego boats and go across the sea, but it was a great way for them to pretend like they were doing something that Nephi did. And I think they were able to learn a lot from that. It was hard for Nephi. He had to pray for the materials of what he would use, and I had the kids pray for what they would use. And then they had to discover and figure out how they were going to build that boat. And once they figured it out, they just kept putting pieces on, and they did a really great job. And so I love the pretend, because you can do role playing. On my mission, we did tons of role playing, and that's how we learned. And we were just pretending to be investigators, or pretending to be the missionaries teaching an investigator, different things like that. And it really helped us learn. So I think pretending is a great way to help improve the environment in my home when I have kids and how they will learn, but also in a classroom setting. I think it can give us a lot of different activities that we can do with the children instead of just standing up teaching. And so I really like that. And I think it can apply for all grade levels as well. We did things like this in high school sometimes, and I loved it so much better than when my teacher would just stand up there and lecture. So I hope that kind of makes sense what I learned and where I got my answers from and researching more. And I'm grateful for the students in the class that comment and help give ideas, because They are great and they really help me to learn. So thank you for that. And thanks for watching.